Imagine a distant land untouched by iron and unknown to cities. A place where the wind whispers through the trees and the rivers breathe like living beings. There, a unique people once lived. A people who carried the secrets of nature within their hearts. Strangers gave them the name Red Indians, but they never called themselves that. To themselves, they were children of the sun, brothers of the birds, and guardians of the earth that embraced them. Their story is not about great palaces or vast armies, but about the rhythm of drums, the dances of the moon, and the wisdom whispered from one generation to the next. Come with us as we open a forgotten page of history, a page that tells how humanity once lived in perfect harmony with the universe. In the depths of the American continent, where vast plains stretched out and silent mountains stood like guardians, there arose a people who lived in complete balance with nature. They looked upon the earth as a child looks to its mother, not as something to be owned, but as a spirit that protected and nourished them. Every step upon the soil was, to them, a promise to care for it. They saw the river as a vein of life. They did not merely drink from it, but performed short rituals before touching its waters, lifting their hands to the sky in gratitude. When they cut down a tree, they did so only with caution, after a brief prayer asking the spirit of the tree to allow them to take what they needed. This spiritual relationship made them treat nature not simply as a source of wealth, but as a living entity worthy of respect. Imagine a distant land untouched by iron and unknown to cities, a place where the wind whispered through the trees and the rivers breathed like living beings. There, a unique people once lived, a people who carried the secrets of nature within their hearts. Strangers later gave them the name Red Indians, but they never called themselves that. To themselves, they were children of the sun, brothers of the birds, and guardians of the earth that embraced them. Their story is not about great palaces or vast armies, but about the rhythm of drums, the dances of the moon, and the wisdom whispered from one generation to the next. Come with us as we open a forgotten page of history, a page that tells how humanity once lived in perfect harmony with the universe. In the depths of the American continent, where vast plains stretched and silent mountains stood like guardians, there arose a people who lived in complete balance with nature. They looked upon the earth as a child looks to its mother, not as something to be owned, but as a spirit that protected and nourished them. Every step upon the soil was, to them, a promise to care for it. The river was a vein of life. They did not merely drink from it, but performed rituals before touching its waters, raising their hands to the sky in gratitude. When they cut down a tree, they did so with caution, whispering a prayer to the spirit of the tree, asking for its permission. This bond made them treat nature not as property or wealth, but as a living entity, a partner in their survival. Their days began with the rising sun. Men would go out to hunt deer and bison, while women prepared food, tended the fields, and taught the young. Children grew up learning to track animals, to recognize the songs of birds, and to read the language of the wind. Life was simple, yet it carried a depth that modern civilizations have rarely known. Every tool was carved with care, every garment sewn with purpose. Even their huts, built from wood, hides, and branches, were more than shelters. They were extensions of the land itself, built in harmony with the seasons. The people of these tribes did not wear garments merely for protection from the cold or heat. Their clothing was a language in itself. They used animal hides softened with smoke and oils, turning them into leather garments decorated with beads, feathers, and shells. Each symbol embroidered onto a robe or belt carried meaning. Feathers spoke of bravery, beads reflected family ties, and colors revealed rank or spiritual visions. Their hair was often braided with care, sometimes painted with natural dyes, not only for beauty, but to carry stories of battles fought and victories won. Even war paint was more than a mask. It was a shield of spirit, painted before battle to summon strength from the unseen world. To them, life was a sacred circle. Every moment, from birth to death, was tied to the great rhythm of the universe. The drum beat was not mere music, it was the heartbeat of the earth itself. They danced under the full moon, believing that the spirits of their ancestors joined in their steps. The smoke of burning herbs rose to the sky, carrying prayers to the Great Spirit above. Dreams were not dismissed as imagination. They were seen as messages, guiding the tribe through hardship or leading them to new lands. Shamans, wise men and women, held the role of healers and spiritual guides. With chants, herbs, and sacred objects, they sought to mend not just the body, but the soul. Illness, they believed, was not only a wound of flesh, but a disharmony between man and nature. The tribes knew no prisons of stone. Justice was woven into the fabric of the community itself. Disputes were settled by councils of elders, whose wisdom carried more weight than weapons. Punishment was not about revenge, but about restoring balance. A thief might be asked to share his hunt with those he wronged. A warrior who broke the rules of honor might be excluded from the next hunt until he regained trust. In this way, order was maintained not by fear of chains, but by respect for tradition and the desire to remain in harmony with the tribe. Family was the heartbeat of their world. Children were not only the responsibility of parents, but of the entire tribe. Every child had many mothers, many fathers, many guides. Marriage was more than a union of two people. It was a bond between clans, sealed with songs, feasts, and sacred vows. Elders were revered not for their strength, but for their stories. Around the fire they told tales of creation, of heroes and spirits, planting in the hearts of the young a map to guide them through life. The tribe was a living family, where every individual found identity not in isolation, but in belonging. War was not their daily path, but when it came, it was wrapped in honor and ritual. Battles were fought not only to defend land, but to protect dignity, hunting grounds, and sacred places. Before setting out, warriors painted their faces with symbols drawn from visions. They carried bows, spears, and stone-tipped arrows, but more than weapons, they carried the spirit of their ancestors. Courage was measured not only by victory, but by endurance. A warrior who stood firm in the face of danger, who protected his people even at the cost of his life, was remembered in songs long after his body had returned to the earth. Prisoners of war were sometimes adopted into tribes, given new families and new names, a practice that turned enemies into brothers and prevented endless cycles of bloodshed. Around the fire, under the blanket of stars, their stories came alive. Myths were not mere entertainment. They were maps of meaning, guiding life and explaining the mysteries of existence. They spoke of the Great Spirit who breathed life into the first man and woman, of the eagle who carried prayers to the heavens, and of the trickster coyote who taught wisdom through mischief. The constellations above were not just stars, but the footprints of ancestors, immortalized in the sky. Rivers were said to hold the souls of the departed, mountains were the resting backs of giants, and storms were voices of angry spirits reminding humans of their smallness. These legends were not forgotten with time. They lived in chants, in dances, in carvings on wood and stone, ensuring that every child grew up knowing that the world around them was alive with stories. But no harmony lasts forever. With the arrival of strangers from across the sea, a storm descended upon the tribes. Iron clashed with stone, and fire struck against the fragile balance they had kept for centuries. Diseases unknown to them swept through villages like invisible armies, taking more lives than weapons ever could. The buffalo, once filling the plains like endless waves, were hunted nearly to extinction. The sacred land was carved up, fenced, and claimed by hands that did not hear its heartbeat. Some tribes resisted with bravery, their warriors riding into battle against forces beyond their numbers. Others sought peace, offering friendship, only to be betrayed. In the end, their way of life was pushed to the edges of survival. Yet even in loss, their spirit did not vanish. The songs did not fall silent. The drumbeats still echo, the feathers still shine, and the prayers still rise with the smoke of sacred fires. Their wisdom, respect for the earth, the sense of unity, the vision of life as a circle, survives as a lesson for all humanity. The story of these tribes is not merely the tale of what was lost, but of what endures. It is a reminder that civilization is not measured by stone walls or golden crowns, but by the depth of respect for life itself.